You wake up at 4 in the morning, not because there are meetings, not because there is a crisis. You wake up because you cannot sleep anymore, and you can no longer remember when you could. You lie in the darkness of the White House and listen to the silence. Once, this silence felt like triumph. Now it feels like a trap. Your name is Richard Milhouse Nixon. You are the 37th President of the United States of America. And today, August 8th, 1974, you will sign a piece of paper that will make you the only man in American history to voluntarily surrender this office. No one shot you. No one defeated you at the ballot box. You defeated yourself. And the weapon you used was a tape recorder. You walked the corridors at 5 in the morning in bare feet. The Secret Service agents pretend not to see you. You enter the Lincoln bedroom and sit there for an hour, just sitting in the darkness, alone with the portrait of a man who was killed in a theater. You have a glass in your hand. You are not drinking. You just hold it because you need something to hold on to. Lincoln stares back at you from the canvas. You used to find comfort in this room. You used to think about Lincoln when things got hard, how he held the country together when it was bleeding, how he made the impossible decisions without breaking. You used to think, if he could do that, I can do this. Tonight, Lincoln just looks tired. You put the glass down and fold your hands in your lap. Somewhere outside the window, Washington, D.C. is sleeping. The monuments are lit up white against the August sky. The Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument, the dome of the Capitol. You helped build this city's power. You sat at its center for 5 years. And tomorrow morning, every single person in every single lit building out there will have a new president. You think about where it all began. A poor boy from California. Your father ran a small grocery store and never had a dollar to spare. Your 2 brothers died young. Harold from tuberculosis. Arthur from meningitis. Your family grieved quietly, the way poor families do, with no time to stop moving. You studied at night under a dim lamp while your mother washed other people's laundry. You won a scholarship to Duke Law School. You lived in an abandoned tool shed on the campus to save money, showering in the gym before anyone else arrived. Nobody gave you anything. Every single step was a fight. You survived the war. You served in the Pacific and came back harder and sharper and more determined than ever. You lost the presidential election in 1960, lost to a man who was younger, richer, and more beautiful than you, a man the cameras loved, and the cameras had never loved you. You gave a bitter, rambling concession speech and walked off the stage, and everyone in Washington said, "That's the end of Nixon. They were wrong. You came back. You always came back." You won 49 states out of 50 in 1972. 49 states. The largest electoral landslide in modern American history. 61% of the popular vote. You sat in the Oval Office on election night watching the returns come in. And for one moment, just one, you let yourself feel it. The boy from the tool shed. The man everyone had buried. The president who opened China, ended a war, negotiated with the Soviets, and reshaped the entire map of the world. And yet, here you are, in a dark room with an empty glass. Every road leads back to one word, Watergate. Here is the irony that will eat at you for the rest of your days. You did not plan the break-in at the Watergate Hotel. Your men did it on their own, broke into the Democratic headquarters, planted bugs, photographed documents. Why? You would have won that election with your eyes closed. You knew that. The Poles knew it. Everyone knew it. The break-in was pointless, paranoid, stupid, the kind of thing done by men who have too much power and too little to do. But they did it. And when the police caught them on June 17, 1972, you could have said 3 words, "I did not know," and it would have been the truth, and it would have ended there. A minor scandal, a few embarrassing headlines, nothing that could touch you. Instead, you chose to cover it up. You paid hush money. You instructed your people to lie. You used the CIA to obstruct the FBI investigation. You told the country, from behind the presidential seal, that you had nothing to do with it. And you looked them in the eye when you said it. "I am not a crook." You said those words on national television. You said them with your hands raised and your jaw set and your voice steady. And the worst part is that somewhere in your mind, you believed it. You had spent so many years outmaneuvering enemies, surviving attacks, turning defeats into comebacks. You genuinely thought you could outrun this too. But this time, you had left the evidence behind. 18 months of White House conversations, recorded on a system you yourself had installed. Every whisper, every order, every careful lie, captured on magnetic tape and sitting in a basement. When the Supreme Court ruled 8-0 that you had to hand the tapes over, you knew it was over. Not because you were guilty. You had always told yourself complicated stories about guilt. It was over because the machine had recorded the truth, and the truth did not match the story you had told the world. By noon, the White House is full of people who are pretending to work. Aides shuffle papers that don't matter. Secretaries answer phones that aren't ringing. Everyone moves carefully, quietly, the way people move in a house where someone is dying. You called your closest allies in Congress last night, senators and congressmen who had stood by you through 2 years of investigations, 2 years of denials, 2 years of fighting. You called them one by one. And one by one, they told you the same thing in careful, polite, political language. The votes are not there. The impeachment would pass the House. The conviction would pass the Senate. You would be removed. They were not abandoning you. They were just reading the ledger, and the ledger was not in your favor. Your chief of staff, Alexander Haig, stands outside your door. He has been there since dawn. He doesn't knock. He waits, because there is nothing left to say, only papers left to sign. Your daughter Tricia calls from New York. Her voice is steady, but you can hear what is underneath it. The particular kind of love that holds itself rigid so it does not break. You tell her you are fine. You have been telling people you are fine for 2 years. By now, the words come out automatically, like breathing, like something your body does without being asked. Your wife Pat sits in her room down the hall and does not come out. You married her in 1940. She has stood beside you at every podium, every press conference, every victory, and every humiliation. She stood beside you in 1952 when you gave the Checkers speech and saved your own political career by talking about your dog on national television. She stood beside you when you lost in 1960. She stood beside you in 1968 when you won. She is not standing beside you today, and you understand why. Some things are too heavy to stand next to. At 9 o'clock in the evening, you sit down in front of the television cameras in the Oval Office for the last time. The lights are hot. Your hands are folded on the desk. You are wearing the blue suit, the good one, the camera suit. Your speechwriter, Raymond Price, worked on these words for days. You rewrote them. He rewrote them again. What do you say when there are no words that fit? You decided you say nothing that sounds like surrender. You are Richard Nixon. You do not surrender. You look into the lens. Millions of Americans look back. Families in living rooms across the country, sitting on couches, watching the man they voted for or voted against in silence. You do not say, "I am guilty." You do not say, "I am sorry." You say, "I no longer have a strong enough political base in the Congress to justify continuing that effort." You say it like an accountant reading a quarterly report. You say it like a man who has decided that if he cannot win, he will at least control the way he loses. Even now, even here, even in the most public defeat in American political history, you are still managing the message. But for one moment, just one, the mask slips. Your voice catches. It is barely audible. Most people watching do not notice it, but it is there. And in that fraction of a second, you are not the president anymore. You are just a man in a suit who worked for 60 years to reach the top of the mountain and is now watching it crumble under his feet. After the cameras go dark, you sit alone for a long time. The Oval Office looks the same as it always did. The flags, the Resolute desk, the desk built from the timbers of the HMS Resolute, given to Rutherford Hayes by Queen Victoria, used by every president since. The seal on the carpet beneath your feet, the eagle with arrows in one claw and an olive branch in the other. You built a career on being the toughest man in the room. You stared down the Soviets. You flew to Beijing and shook Mao's hand when the whole world said it was impossible. You bombed Hanoi on Christmas Day because you believed it was the only language the North Vietnamese would understand. You made decisions that cost lives, and you carried that weight because you genuinely believed, that you were the one who could see the whole board, the one who could do what was necessary. And the thing that finally finished you was not a foreign power. It was not a political opponent. It was 18.5 minutes of erased tape, and your own voice on the recordings that survived. And the gap between the man you told the world you were and the man the evidence revealed. Tomorrow morning you will walk down the hallway and say goodbye to the White House staff. They will line up along the walls. The maids, the butlers, the groundskeepers, the cooks, the people who have worked here through 5 or 6 or 7 administrations. And you will shake their hands, and some of them will be crying, and you will not cry. You will not cry because you have never cried in public, and you will not start today. You will walk out through the diplomatic reception room and cross the South Lawn in the August heat. You will stop at the steps of the helicopter and you will turn and wave. That strange, stiff wave, both arms raised, fingers spread. The way you have always waved. The way that has been mocked and imitated for 20 years. And the image will be printed on the front page of every newspaper in the world. The helicopter will lift you off the ground. The South Lawn will fall away. The White House, the Rose Garden, the fence, the street. All of it will shrink until it is just a white building among other buildings, and then just a part of the city, and then just a city among cities. And at the exact moment the helicopter crosses the boundary of Washington, D.C., Gerald Ford will raise his right hand in the East Room and take the oath of office. And you will no longer be the President of the United States. Just like that, between one breath and the next, you will just be a man in a suit, flying over a country that cannot decide whether to hate you or pity you. A country you spent your whole life trying to lead, trying to protect, trying to impress. A country that gave you everything and then took it back. You stare out the window at the brown summer fields of Virginia passing below. You built your entire life on one principle: never stop, never give up, fight back from every defeat, climb back from every grave they dig for you. In 1962, after losing the California governor's race, you told the press pack, you won't have Nixon to kick around anymore. They printed it as a farewell. You printed it in your memory as a dare. You came back from that. You came back from everything. But there is no coming back from this. Not from resignation. Not from the tapes. Not from the words "I am not a crook" playing on loop in the minds of every American who trusted you. History will debate you for 100 years. Some will remember the opening of China, the arms treaties, the EPA, the moon landing that happened on your watch. Some will remember only the lies, the cover-up, the enemies list, the 18.5 minutes of silence where the truth used to be. Both things are true. That is the cruelest part. You were capable of greatness. You achieved it more than once. And you were also capable of this. The helicopter banks south over the Potomac. The water catches the afternoon light. You have flown over this river 100 times and never looked at it like this. Like a man seeing something for the last time. You were the most powerful person on earth. You had your hand on the button that could end civilization. You negotiated with emperors and dictators and managed the fate of nations. And the one thing nobody ever prepared you for, the one thing you never had a plan for, was this. What do you do on the day you lose everything? You watch the river disappear behind you. You already know the answer. You get up, you go home, you write your memoirs. You fight your way back into respectability, inch by inch, year by year, the way you always have. But for now, just for this 1 hour, suspended between the life you had and the life that is coming, you let yourself feel the full weight of it. The boy from the tool shed, the man who came back from everything, going home,